response video to the interview between Feta and Anna Kant-Avad. Just really wasn't very good. Really wasn't. It just really wasn't very good. For 3 hours, it just wasn't, wasn't like dinner with Andre or something. Dinner with Andy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really tired and I have a headache, and so this is, I'm starting a little slow. All right, I didn't look. This is all I took as notes. I mean, they're hideous notes. That's 3 hours, and this is all I got out of it was nothing. All right, so the first thing I wrote down is "your own" in quotes, and then I said "accept right to be free from imposition." So they must have said something that was so relevant, like we somehow own ourselves, except we don't own the right to exempt ourselves from other people's imposition, I think is my argument. And it seems like a basic right. I mean, you should have to explain why you have a right to impose. It's not that difficult an equation. Why do I think I have a right to presume somebody's going to think it was a good idea to have them? Why am I confident? Right, because 9 out of 10 of them will say yes, so it's okay for me to victimize the 10th one, so I can rape 1 out of 10 women? I mean, what's the parallel to this idiotic logic? Alright, so anyway, so the first thing they talked about a lot was the right to die. And so, which is really, this is, they're saying the right things in a lot of ways. But again, the pettiness just comes out, especially in Feta, because I have made a proposal. I'll briefly go over it, and he didn't listen to it properly and made stupid critiques. And this is the kind of crap you get. You make the proposal, you go to the trouble to actually argue something that has some sort of merit, some sort of realistic, useful, functional. Like, yeah, let's get behind some movement, let's do something about it, let's actually fix the problem instead of just talking about it for a change. And these assholes, because of their petty resentments, just start nitpicking. So anyway, the right to die thing should be pretty clear. We could make a system where you basically opt out of having your rights. So if you're a Christian, you could say, no, I never want the right to die. And so at 16 years old, you basically create a living will. And in that will, you assign a guardian who will be the person who will validate, add credibility to your statement, whatever you're saying in your statement. And I'll explain that later. And you basically state that I would like the liberty to take full responsibility for my life at, let's say, the age of 17 or 18. So at 16, you sign, or let's say 17. This is nitpicky stuff. Doesn't matter what age to me. I'd like to go earlier, but I don't care how late we go, as long as it's not 55. So yeah, at 18, you sign this statement, the year of consent, whatever, and you either say, I would like to be fully entitled to invest my welfare, my health, my benefits in my judgment. I would like to be responsible for my existence. Whether I continue it or discontinue it, I want it to be my choice, not somebody else's choice. I don't want to live by somebody else's philosophy. I'd like to live by mine personally. So as long as it's not affecting somebody else, I would like to retain my liberty. And or if you're like a Christian nutter, a religious nutter, or you're disabled or something, you think the world's going to kill you, you sign a statement saying, I absolutely never want the right to die. Okay, I want no liberties in that regard. I want to be prevented from killing myself if there's any indication that's what I'm going to do, because I would have to be insane or crazy to desire such a thing. And if you want to sign that statement, you sign it. Now you're protected by the law. Nobody can kill you. A hospital can't euthanize you. You're completely protected from any euthanasia or any other method, and that's it. Now, if you change your mind after you sign this thing, you'd have to go to a court, to a judge, and persuade that judge to change your statement. So you'd have to provide evidence why you were wrong when you said what you said. And so you'd have to go through that process, pay $400 or $500, get a ruling to change your living will. All right, same with your guardian. If you want to change your guardian, unless one dies, you can freely pick one. But if it dies, but if they're alive and you want to change your guardian, you would have to go to court to get the guardian changed. Okay? Now, the guardian would just function as somebody who would validate your statement to die, so that when it was time for you to go to a clinic or wherever to die, the guardian would have to say, yes, he's of the same mind he's been the whole time I've ever known him. This is consistent with what he believes and what he would like to do, and I'll validate that it's a reasonable decision made by a competent human being who wishes and desires to take responsibility for their own existence. And that's what they basically swear to. So there's protection in that sense. And so you have a second opinion versus no second opinion. So here you have a second opinion to validate the person is now exercising of their free will their authority to invest their own welfare in their own judgment, and have chosen to end their life in a reasonably thoughtful manner. So basically this system, in my opinion, covers it. I mean, that would satisfy protecting the disabled, protecting the vulnerable. Anytime you could, like I said, you can change your will to change it from free liberty to no liberty. You wouldn't even have to go to court for it. You just have to get it stamped by a clerk or something. So for $20 you could give away your rights, but to get your rights back you'd have to go to court. That would be one of the catches. The way the guardian thing works, yeah, the nitpickers will come out of the woodwork, but yeah, you'd only be allowed to be a guardian for, like, say 2 or 3 other people. There'd have to be limitations on how many miles away the guardian lived, some sort of stuff like that. Or you could maybe be guardian for many people, but they'd all have to be within a radius of I'm tired. Of location. They'd have to be around where you live. Yeah, I don't think I need to say any more. I think there was more to it, but I'm not remembering what it was. But really, it would protect all the vulnerable populations. Anybody who thinks there's anything wrong with suicide or killing themselves, they'd have it written in a piece of paper that that's what they believe, and they'd have to persuade a judge that somehow they were incompetent or wrong when they thought that. And that they're changing their mind for some valid reason. And I think that's a legitimate protection. And yeah, when they sign this thing, like I said, you'd sign it and it would go into effect a year after you sign it. And any change you make to it you could only use it a year later. So this just prevents people who are deciding, at the last minute, the trench conversions. Maybe you could still go to a judge and try, but there would have to be some sort of something just to prevent people from playing the game where they said, no, I don't want the right. Oh yeah, but now that I have cancer, I do want the right. Yeah, well, fuck you, sort of. I mean, the whole idea of this thing is take responsibility for your judgment, not to obfuscate responsibility. Oh yeah, the issue of parenting. Well, in my opinion, we should have the best orphanages in the world. It should be a high priority of society to take care of children, so we should have NASA, Disneyland-style orphanages, and I don't see any point in forcing a parent who doesn't like being alive to raise children. It sort of doesn't make any sense. It sort of sounds kind of crazy. So I don't even think I would leave parents with a parent. I mean, I'd leave kids with a parent who was suicidal. That just doesn't sound like a good idea. So I think it's kind of stupid to say somebody can't make a mistake, have kids, and then want to die. Yeah, mistakes happen, and I don't think anybody wins by trying to force somebody to live for their kids. I mean, that just sounds like a really bad idea. Yeah, so that covers it. So that covers the first part of their video, which was actually tolerable because they were both saying things I'm pretty agreeable with. So on to this section. I don't know. I said go to happy place, from the Happy Gilmore movie. So he must be going to say something pretty stupid.
Do that for society in general. For example,
gee, that was horrible.
If I choose not to have kids because I don't believe that the world is worth having kids in, do I then say I must prevent other people from having kids?
Well, the logic is pretty obvious, isn't it? I mean, if I believe that animals shouldn't be tortured, there's absolutely no point in me not stopping other people. If I believe slavery is wrong, I don't solve the problem by not owning slaves personally. I mean, there's just no way to unravel this in the sense that, you know, the vulnerability is inherent in the act. It's an aggressive act. It is essentially can be related to any kind of aggressive act, creation, procreation. You are creating. All right? I mean, me not making Frankenstein monsters does not stop Dr. Frankenstein. I mean, how can that logic escape you?
That's not the same thing, and I would say that it's actually completely opposite, because the second I try and prevent other people from having kids, I'm trying to perfect a world that I have said is not perfectible.
All right, so this is the part where what the hell does that even mean? This whole notion of perfection is all veiled in religious dogma. All right, they made the word imperfect or perfection a sin. They made the idea of perfection unattainable. The fact is, we should strive for perfection. We should always be walking the road to perfection. That should always be the direction we're heading in, is perfection. So it is just silly to sit there and say, the world can't be perfect, therefore I'm not going to walk towards perfection. I'll walk towards the exact opposite. So instead of not making a mess, so since I can't make no mess at all, I'll make a huge amount of mess. I mean, that logic is imbecilic. The fact that you can't make no mess does not mean that you don't minimize your mess. I mean, first, do no harm. Doctors didn't say that for no reason. They said it for a reason, because it's a damn reasonable ethic. I mean, first, don't make the fucker worse.
I've decided that this world isn't worth existing in. Why am I trying to make it a better place? The only way I can make it a better place is in here.
Yeah, so this is the Happy Gilmore part. The only way you make the world a better place is in here. So if you want to solve slavery, just change your brain so you don't worry about the poor darkies being beaten every day. You want to stop Adolf Hitler? Just say, go away, Adolf. You don't exist. I don't hear the babies crying. I don't smell the ovens anymore, because I will just play with my own brain and pretend it doesn't exist. So you're concerned that the evolution of a DNA molecule has implicated trillions of animals every day being ground up in a monstrous mill of horror. Yeah, you want to solve that problem? Just ignore the problem. That's this man's philosophy. That's his brilliant contribution to intellectual edification. You want to solve a problem? Ignore it. If it's broken, walk away. Don't take out a wrench. Don't take out a screwdriver. Take out a hammer. There's a forest fire. So what? Walk away. Don't make a fire break. Don't call for helicopters and water, and don't do anything. Just walk the fuck away.
So Schopenhauer, yes, if he's speaking to you as an individual, wonderful. It's like the old Nietzsche thing. Everyone sort of thinks Nietzsche was a Nazi. No, he wasn't. He was saying that you have to be your own Superman. I don't want to get into all that.
Yeah, right. I don't want to get into all that. Yeah, you want to get into it because he's a psychotic crazy fuck. A self-obsessed, egomaniacal crazy fuck who basically just said we can't do anything. You can't make anything any better. Everything is just doom and failure. No human being can ever do anything constructive. So yes, just take care of yourself. That you can do. So you can't fix the game. You can't do anything constructive. You can't fight for social justice. You can't do a motherfucking thing of any value. So yeah, just take care of your selfish self. And that's somehow an accomplishment. And if you can fart out a few babies along the way, fine. I don't think he said that, but of course you assholes are turning him into that. Right? And yeah, if you have a few mental disorders and you had a lifelong battle with depression, all more reason to go ahead and slap your genes into a vagina so you can create another depressive. Brilliant strategy. Just fucking brilliant. Fuck.
But it's just, you have to be your own Schopenhauer. You have to be your own, you have to,
Yeah, guess what? That wouldn't stop me from being here, right? So what I needed before I came into existence was I needed somebody who wouldn't be their own Schopenhauer. I needed somebody who would walk up to my mother and say, listen, lady, do you really know what you're doing here? Or are you just playing traditional mommy games? Is that what you're really doing? You're just saying that socially you need to fit in, and so you're going to have a little pile of kids too, so you can all go to your bridge clubs and talk about, oh, Johnny just invented Play-Doh Superman. Blah, 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 blah. So you can all compare pictures and say, look, isn't my baby prettier than your ugly fucking cunt piece of shit? So you can play your little ego games. And that's all it was ever about, is just traditional, dopey little simplistic notions in people's dopey little heads. And you goddamn know it. And my parents have admitted that if they had a little bit more brains, they would have never done it. Alright? They had a little bit of the vision of what they were in for. Watching one of their kids die of cancer horribly and slowly, that maybe they would have said, nah, let's pass on that and go to Europe instead. People are just so full of shit. Anyway. Alright, adoption show. Oh yeah, well I gotta talk about that a little bit, right? So Feta somewhere in here, it talks about how he wanted to do some kind of radio show or something about adoption. And somehow he would talk all the people into adoption. Now, I'm not against adoption grotesquely, but I mean, the idea of it is a little stupid, especially when people already have their own kids, or if they're planning to have their own kids, or they're trying to have their own kids. It's a little bit, in my opinion, kind of bullshit, all right? I mean, oh yeah, let's adopt a kid, so we'll have our real kids, and then we'll have that funny little weird one. I mean, that's sort of bullshit. So, I mean, it's sort of, this is all psychology shit, you know what I mean? And it really, people just shouldn't be doing this recklessly and sloppily. But this is sort of one of these ironies, too. I mean, you can completely satisfy, if we do have some nataling desire, I'm sure genetically there's no component in our genetics that can possibly distinguish between our own children and somebody else's children. I mean, we've already done the experiment, right? I mean, they've mixed babies up at birth, and people didn't know it wasn't their kid. They weren't able to sniff it out, that it wasn't the real deal. So it's all just psychology. It's all psychology that makes you want to have a kid. You're talking about your stupid head games, and you can't even play the head game well enough to realize it's only your ego that says you need to produce a kid. It's just complete bullshit, that you're not doing it for any real good reason. You're just doing it to entertain yourself. Like, oh, this will somehow make my life more complete. Well, this is not why people should be brought into existence. It's to make your life more complete. That's called bullshit. It's called selfish. It's called fucking country. Bullshit. But anyway, back to the adoption thing. I mean, obviously, who the fuck's gonna listen to this show? Really? Well, adoption's a good idea. Yeah, I think so too. Oh, I guess we said, well, let's say it again. Adoption's a good idea. I think so too. Maybe if we say it standing on our head. Yeah, I mean, it's really not a subject you could make a show out of. It's a subject you can make a commercial out of. All right, you can talk about adoption for about 60 seconds and then, oh man, this is incredibly tedious and boring. Anyway. All right, so moving on. Adam and Eve, I wrote down. So 47:20. 47:20. Do. It's not that far away from where I was. I guess I could have played the whole thing. But, fuck it. 47:14. Maybe that'll be good enough.
It's done that right. But I know what you mean. You know what? Yeah. And well, I am preventing a new 1,000 babies from coming into this world. So even if I'm not even pronouncing my real agenda, I am putting it forward. Like when I criticized some.
Yeah. So well, this sort of argument is kind of bullshit, right? I mean, that somehow you're going to solve the problem because you stop 1,000 people. because this is kind of the Adam and Eve scenario, right? This is the how do you eradicate smallpox problem. Well, you don't eradicate smallpox by eradicating 90% of smallpox. I mean, this is the kind of problem where you can't leave any Adam and Eves behind. All right? I mean, not only did we not evolve from just one single reproducing cell, all life on Earth, but yeah, all humans came from one mother. I mean, that's the way it works. All right? So all you need is one pregnant woman on an island, and all of a sudden you have a human race. So, this is kind of just bullshit. This has to be something we do on purpose, and it has to be done completely. There's no half pregnant. There's no a little bit pregnant. Well, that's an applicable analogy. Okay? There's no a little bit antinatalist. You're either going to get it done or you're going to fail.
People that want to press the red button, for example. I was comparing them to jihadis, and they were so offended by it. Well, they have the same agenda, right?
Okay, so this is great. So he's comparing people, like when we did the red button experiment, we basically said, I'll make another analogy. So you can go back in time to before the Civil War. You can press a button, okay, that will just annihilate the Confederacy. Just kill all the people who would have died in the war. And you can do it instantaneously. Just snap of a fingers. Okay, that quick. So you're sparing all the Union soldiers their harm, and you're liberating the slaves. So you get the job done without all the harm. Would you press the button? If you go back in time, would you press the button and do it? Okay, second point I'd make. In the thought experiment, we're basically saying that, look, we have this really difficult task to accomplish. Really difficult. It's hard to barely, you can see such slim chances of ever getting the human race to do anything constructive in any united way without everything going wrong. So it's really hard to navigate the road to the future and get there. So this isn't going to be an easy task to accomplish. But if you really believe in the task, all right, here I'm going to give you an opportunity to get it done completely and really efficiently. Okay? Everybody dies instantaneously. No regrets, no moaning, no crying, no anything. And these are all lives that would end anyway. And by your own philosophy, you're basically saying, you're only living because you're addicted. Life isn't really constructive. You're likely to suffer more than the value of the gains are going to be anyway. I mean, if you're an antinatalist, you've already pretty much concluded that there's nothing of enough value to justify the pain you're exposed to anyway by having people living here. And now you can get it all done. All the animals are saved. All the humans are spared. The whole thing just ends with a little snap of the finger. And you're going to call me a jihadist? You're going to compare me to some religious nut who wants to impose his religion on the world? I mean, and he's going to kill just women and children and babies. He doesn't care who the fuck he kills. And they're going to be harmed. They're going to suffer through the process. And you're going to compare me to that? And I'm not supposed to say, fuck you, feta? No, I'm supposed to say, fuck you, feta.
They do want to end up the world. They want to impose death.
They want to impose death. No, they want to liberate. That's because they're antinatalists. I guess you don't understand the word. Okay, they're antinatalists, which means they wish the human race to go extinct. And then, unlike you, originally anyway, who didn't give a fuck about the animals, they also might understand that this whole biological mechanism of life itself is what's corrupt. Human beings aren't the only thing suffering on this planet. Human beings aren't the only thing in jeopardy or having a bad day or made vulnerable. So again, this is just bull fucking shit. All right, that this is going to have to happen anyway in the end. There's going to have to be a button for the animals, you dumb shit. All right, so again, you're just making some little minor distinction and yet slandering us as if we want to kill something. No, we want to prevent harm, asshole.
I want everyone Now that's what they want. Now,
Yeah, so fuck you.
if you told me, well, would you ally yourself with someone who wants to promote adoption instead of procreation without being an anti-natalist? Yeah, I would ally myself. We have the same agenda, that is stopping the number of births, decreasing it at least.
Right, so that's your agenda. Your agenda is some sort of population reduction. So again, I'm going to argue that, frankly, the human race is the minor part of my agenda. 99.9999999999999999999% of my agenda are all the other sentient mammals and creatures living on planet Earth. That's my agenda. And unfortunately, the only way I can save them is through the human race. That's just the truth of it. But you fucking suck. I hate your guts. Yeah, fuck you, Feta. So anyway, enough of that. So let's see, next one is 1 minute and 12 seconds. Ooh, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Getting closer, 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 closer. Oh, 1 minute and 6 has got to be good enough. There's Smiling Andy.
As hard as you can take it. When you remove the fear from that, when you remove the fear that things are going to get worse, when you face that fact, unfortunately, the fear factor, if I may say so, if I may call it that, always fails. Whenever I attempt to imagine a truly hellish universe, my imagination fails.
Okay, so does anybody really understand that? Somehow he can't imagine. Have you ever watched like a Freddy's Nightmare movie? I mean, Saw? I don't even want to go down the list. 2 women, 1 cup, or 3 women, 1 cup, whatever the fuck it was. Horse Butt Man. You can't imagine a fucking horror. You can't imagine some alien world of aliens, you know, snappy, shit, poppy out of chesty westy. What do you mean you can't imagine? You can't imagine all the dystopias that have been shown in movies and cinema? Horatio, I knew him well, except he's dead now because I screwed him over. You can't?
I can't do it. It's by the same thing as when I was sitting there in Catholic school and they kept telling me about heaven. My mind couldn't grasp the concept of perfection.
Oh, fuck. I mean, does it even have to be perfect? I could certainly do it. I mean, I would sit there and imagine it. I mean, it was really easy for me to just sit there and look at her, you know, in the sweater and the blunt and the sunlight, and I could imagine heaven. I could imagine my lovely, you know, brass bed in heaven, just spending my days. Yes, it was really easy for me to imagine paradise. It didn't have to be perfect. It just had to be somewhere in the vicinity, right? I mean, how do you make sense out of that? He can't imagine a worse world and he can't imagine a better world. No, it's just, no, all I can do is, I can just only imagine going on my bicycle and riding to work and ironing my shirts and beating my wife. Oh, sorry, that was that happening.
The complete absence of evil or whatever, the complete existence of nothing but good.
Like I said, how can you not imagine it? I mean, how can you not imagine just having a really great day forever? I mean, damn, it's really easy for me to imagine that. I mean, I find it so fucking easy to fall into that. I mean, I guess that's the difference between us. I guess maybe it's a genetic thing. Yeah, I have the genetic capacity to imagine a pleasure that a bag of potato chips that's bottomless. I can imagine it.
This made no sense to me. And by the same token, I cannot imagine a completely, shall we say, dystopian universe.
Yeah, well, whatever. Like I said, I just don't know why you have a limitation in that, and there's lots of movies that'll show it to you. Oh,
Existence itself being horrible. I can imagine fearing that it's horrible. I can imagine the fear of it being horrible, or
you can imagine fear. Yeah, well, that one I can't do. I mean, I can experience fear, but I can't really imagine fear. I mean, I can't really like, oh, I'm gonna fake a fear. I'm scared of this. Yeah, YouTube. Ooh. Yeah, I'm really not feeling it. You know, I mean, it's just not happening. I can't really imagine it. Well, anyway, enough of this. This is the fucking philosophy I gotta argue. This is this mumbo jumbo. I'm supposed to fucking somehow make a coherent connection between this and any part of reality. My reality, anyway. My logical understanding of the function of the universe. My understanding of my own psychology. My understanding of conceptualizations in my brain. I'm somehow supposed to understand how I can't imagine good time and I can't imagine bad time. Fuck. Alright, moving on. It's the same number. No, well, we'll move up to 104. 104. Ooh, too much. 104.17. Ooh, too much. Ooh, ow. Ooh, it won't let me. Ooh, there it is.
if you ask me, is sound. Don't try and change what's out there. Change what's in here. And you can actually...
It's probably all it was for is just the same. What is that? Don't try to change what's out there. So if you don't like your existence, yeah, kill yourself or, fuck your, get a lobotomy. Go to the doctor and say, give me a lobotomy so I'm changed in here and I don't feel anything anymore and I don't know anything. Yeah, fine. But don't change out there. Don't try to prevent the future existence of people who will be stuck in the same exact position as yourself. Don't, what's a good example? You go to a restaurant and you sit on the chair and you find out there's big giant nails sticking out of the bottom of the chair and they poke holes in your ass. Well, just get up and find another chair and don't put a sign on the chair saying, don't sit on this chair, there's nails in it. Don't say, to the waiter, hey, you ought to get rid of that chair, it's got fucking nails in it. Don't do anything to fix anything. Don't argue for fixing anything. No. Just go sit in another chair and be a selfish cunt. Yeah, fuck you. No, I'm not going to do that.
I believe it to be possible, rather, for you to go through the most terrible experiences and come out in reasonably good shape afterwards if you manage to discipline your mind.
Right. So again, it's just this bullshit mind over matter stuff. We're all supposed to run ourselves in the model of some psychotic killer. I mean, yeah, Hannibal Lecter's heartbeat never went over 60 beats a second. So we should all challenge ourselves to be able to rip somebody's face off and wear it to the ball without our heart rate going over 60 beats a second. We should all become malicious, crazy, selfish, motherfucking cunts who can watch kids get run over in the street and just say, well, it's not my fucking problem. Why would I want to do that? Why the fuck would I want to turn myself into the most unnatural, hideous monstrosity possible? Yes, let's live not in virtual reality, not in perfection. Let's live in a shithole with a fake mindset that makes us capable of eating shit. Why the fuck would I want to do that? If I don't even like nature, and it has at least some of this good shit. I don't like contriving a fake existence, even though it might be fun sometimes. Why the fuck would I want that third puke choice of just become immune, become numb, become some kind of leper, some sort of emotional leper who feels nothing, who cares for nothing, who is nothing? Fuck.
If you manage to, as they say, conquer yourself. I think Schopenhauer would agree with that too. That's why he was a philosopher. It's to discipline your mind to see things the way they really are.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I don't think Schopenhauer would agree with that entirely. He had an affection for Buddhism, but I don't think he was that nihilistic. I think he was basically saying this does fucking suck. I don't think he was saying, "Oh no, it's okay if we all get a mindset that says it's okay." I don't think he had any vision that everybody just twists their perception so they are basically capable of witnessing any horror and just saying, "Oh, that was cool."
And by the same token, don't get carried away when things go massively well either. In control of the situation.
Yeah, well, this is exactly what we aren't by nature. So you're just saying fuck your nature, and I'm saying once you're gonna say fuck your nature, okay, then I say fuck the game. Then the game is really stupid. I mean, when you're not even playing a game anymore, when you're just spinning in circles, little silly circles of self-delusion. What the fuck is that? That's nothing.
So even if things are dreadful in a fundamental sense, if you're in control of your own mind, you're essentially in control of your own universe.
Yeah, well, whatever. Again, so do people really buy this? You know, I can give you testicle cancer, and it's not going to bother you any. You're not going to feel any of the pain, but you're just going to do your little mind control-y thing and just say, "It's not cancer. It's a testicle. My testicles are making grapes. Yeah, they're grapes. I'll go get the grapes harvested through a nasty surgery." You know, and have some of those plastic testicles put in there. Yeah, that'll be fun. And then maybe I can get one of those little pumps, because my dick ain't gonna work anymore.
Isn't that what philosophy is for? The philosophy in and of itself, isn't that ultimate?
No, what philosophy is for is to diagnose reality. Just to sit there and look at it and say, what's wrong with it? What's right with it? How does it work? How does it function? That's what philosophy for, is to reduce, to break it down into its parts and understand what the mechanism is. All right? And understanding isn't the same as deluding. Okay? They're not the same thing. And that's a prescription. You're offering a prescription, Dr. Crazy Pants. All right? And your prescription, in my opinion, is absolute bullshit. All right? It really is. You're not going to evade the pain. You're just going to pretend it's something else. And that's not the same thing. That's like acting, okay? The difference between reality and actors, okay? Actors in Superman movies weren't really Superman. Godzilla wasn't really Godzilla. And your fake notion that you can mind control yourself out of suffering is just a pile of crap.
That's what it's all about.
I wanted to ask you, and I know it doesn't seem linked to this, but it does. I wanted to ask you about anger. Yeah. I agree with Seneca in a way.
The form is insanity.
Yeah, okay. Anger informs insanity. So, this to me is just crap. Just absolute crap. I mean, anger is what makes things happen. You have to be irritated. You have to be frustrated. You have to be motivated. I mean, are we going to argue that when Roger Williams, or whoever the fuck he was, the silly actor guy with the blue face, he's running in front of the troops and blah, 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 freedom, and blah, 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 freedom, freedom, blah, blah, freedom, freedom. What was he doing? All right, he's stimulating the passion. All right, and then what do you think when they were running across the field? Well, you think they were full of love and happy and, oh, I just want pink balloon, pink balloon. Is that what they were doing? No. They were motivated to fix something, all right? And they're going to fix it with their hammers. So fuck this bullshit. Anger is a necessity of change. Anger is a necessity of goddamn function. It doesn't get done, all right, until it bugs you. And it has to sometimes bug the fuck out of you for it to get done.
and that it's the worst possible emotion to have.
Yeah.
And why is it? Because it is linked to what you were saying. I think when you're in control of your mind, quote unquote in control, right? I mean, well,
Yeah.
I'm a determinist, so you know, I know we won't agree on that one either. But let's say that we are in control. I have my free will to control it, and I control it, and I'm in control, right? I
Yeah.
can't be angry in that situation.
Yeah, and you're not going to be a very effective soldier. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, you really can't make yourself do things that are hard to do without creating passion inside of you. And anger is is one of the strongest motivators there is. I mean, between love and anger. And love might even be converted into anger, because you're really, when you're going to have to fight for love, it's usually because you're fighting something that's the enemy of the love, a threat to the love. People get angry at their cancer. They get angry at their wife's pain. These are things we get angry at, and we fight against them, and we do what we can to fix it because we're angry with it. I mean, this is just such crap. This crap, mushy bullshit. I mean, this is just bullshit. I don't see what is the constructiveness in this. You want to say that emotions like revenge are stupid? I'm all for it. Okay, you want to say that when you're provoked by anger, by your own ego, by your own selfish and your own personal insecurities? Well, yeah, of course it's bullshit. But to argue that the motivator of anger is not a powerful necessity in a world of progress is just plain stupid.
Now, if I am angry, then I'm not in control anymore. I am a slave to that emotion. And you know what?
Yes.
What a crock of shit. It's exactly the opposite. Again, what did the Roger Williams guy do? He didn't sit there and he wasn't a slave to his anger. No, he was provoking anger. He was telling people, let's use our minds to understand our mission. See it right in front of you. Let me put the victim. Think about that guy's wife and getting raped by the motherfucking, Lord and shit. Yeah, think about the king fucking. You think about these things. Keep them in your eyes. Keep it close. Keep it right there in front of you. All right? So you're using your intellect to generate your fucking passion. There's nothing wrong with that. All my anger is legitimately motivated and created because I keep the cause in front of me. Fuck you people and your goddamn, no, I don't really have time for this. Fuck you.
I don't know. I know that some people are like, well, once I vent, I feel better. Personally, when I let my...
Yeah, fuck this. Like I said, who needs all this psychobabble? Let's jump ahead and get this over with.
What you're attempting to do. And as I say, see all these instances as instances of the same thing. And that's how I dealt with depression. See, whenever you start to think negatively, recognize what you're doing. You can't stop yourself from doing it. But
so again, the whole thing is this nonsense. So somehow so now we've allowed this asshole to make the subject of antinatalism the philosophical perception that the machine is not running sufficiently to turn it into some psychobabble session, about how you personally get through your life. Is that the subject of antinatalism? How do I personally live a little happy, joyful life? This is pathetic.
once you recognize the direction that your thoughts are going in, you can at least see, there is a thread of this running through my entire existence.
Right, and if someday you're sitting at the dinner table and you look over the Thanksgiving turkey, with its bones all showing, and you ponder, I wonder what the life of that thing was. Because obviously it was a living thing. It has bones like I have and all that stuff. So it was obviously a living thing. And it had parents and it had grandparents. I wonder what their lives were like. Ponder. No, so as soon as I do something like that, I shut that off. That's negative thinking. No, that's the real world. That's something we should be aware of. And yeah, when you look really hard at that shit, it's going to get a little dark and a little skanky. Because that's fucking reality.
I'll put it that way. it becomes a actual thing. It becomes part of you. It becomes part of your view of everything. That the anger itself and the manifestations are not necessarily the manifestations of the anger and the things that cause the anger, the frustrations in life, are simply symptoms of something else. So, and not
Yeah, well, why don't you explore all of that for us then? Why don't you explain exactly what, in your case, what you were thinking and what your symptoms were and what the symptoms of something else were, all right? And then we can make comparisons and we can figure out whether your depression is fundamentally different than my depression. Because frankly, all this sounds like a bunch of self-serving crap. Okay, you're depressed because what? Things didn't work out for you personally. Is that it? Well, frankly, that wasn't the source of my depression. Okay, I was always pretty vain and, you know, pretty comfortable in a lot of ways. I mean, I was introverted and insecure because I was short when I was young. I go through all that psychology crap. But depression-wise, the stuff that really hurt me was the fact that there was this frailty of life, the fact that there was no place you could go to, no mountain you could climb that you weren't going to get blown off of. Fucking idiot.
that, you have to allow yourself to feel certain emotions. You can't just bottle up your anger.
Well, you just said you could, all right? I mean, you said 1 minute you say you have all this control, you can get rid of your cancer by just thinking it away, and now you can't deal with a little bit of anger? Oh, please. I mean, you fucking contradict yourself all over the place. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do this? Should be some other asshole's job. Alright, 2:57, so let's finally get to the end of this shit. Fuck. 2:57. I have 2:56, 2:55, 2:56. Oops, too much, too little, too much. There, that looks good enough. 2:44, so we can do a little extra.
Yeah, right. A lot of people think that I'm trying to debunk antinatalism. I'm not. But what I'm saying is that the
Well, you said you were.
focus might be too narrow. But that's the only thing that I'm saying.
The focus is too narrow. It's a goddamn direct conclusion statement. It's not about any focus shit. There's no other angle to look at it. The statement is pretty clear. Life doesn't work. It's wasting resources. There's an on-off switch. Just hit the off switch. Not complicated.
And, well, no, it's not true, but because I did get sidetracked an awful lot in that abomination that I created, but that's essentially my point of view on antinatalism, is that, okay, I understand, and a lot of the arguments are irrefutable if you accept the underlying assumptions.
Okay, so we're done then, right? You won't argue the underlying assumptions. You never talk about evolution. You never talk about abiogenesis. You never talk about a mechanical clockwork universe. So yeah, there's no argument to be had. You're going to argue for some other mechanism, some God behind the fucking curtain. No, there's no God behind the curtain. All right? There's no curtain. There's no nothing, okay? It's just a process, a fucking molecule replicated. It wasn't made to happen. It wasn't a conspiracy. There isn't some retard in another universe, and we aren't its finger painting. You want to make up silly stories? Make up all the silly stories you want, but they're just that, silly stories. I shouldn't have to indulge in that. So break that the simple truth of a 15-year-old 15 billion year old mechanical material energy universe condensating through cause and effect. And having certain properties, and that on this planet one of the properties was that there was a perfect storm intersection of the right ingredients at the right moment to create a replicating cell. And so it was game on for the creation of complex chemistry that really has only one function, and that is to just pointlessly replicate forever.
People sort of go, well, beyond reasonable doubt. Well, okay, you decide what is reasonable.
Exactly, jackass. You know, how else are you going to do it? I'm going to ask somebody else. I have to do it inside this brain. And I have to say, is there any reasonable doubt? And then the second question is, what's the consequence of inaction? Is there any place I can go to say, well, here's the little safe position where everything is satisfied and yet no decision has to be made? No, there's no safe zone here. If the conclusion is correct and it's beyond a reasonable doubt, well, you've got to exercise the justice. You've got to do the right fucking thing.
Decide what is not reasonable. Again, something is intervening to judge things. Something is creating goalposts. Something is creating standards of necessity. Something is creating, something is deciding what is important. Something is evaluating what is worth pursuing. And
yeah, logic. Logic is dissecting the machine, seeing what the hell does it do. All right, so I understand the screaming stuff going in. I understand the little happy pappy crap. And I have to add it all up. And I say, well, is this happy stuff really made out of anything? Does the universe need it? Is the absence of happy pappy on Mars somehow a problem? No. So I guess it really doesn't have any intrinsic value. And this screamy horror stuff, wow, that's bad. Just without beyond reasonable doubt, BAD, okay, it's bad, okay. And so yeah, the game is over right there. That simple logic just says this is not a machine you want to run. There's no need to run it. There's no logic that dictates a purpose in it. We know what it's made out of. Replication for the sake of replication. Replication for the sake of replication. Create need that doesn't need to exist. Why would I do that? Why would I create a need that doesn't need to exist? You got an answer? No, you don't. So that's why this is a futile conversation.
Beyond that, and the reason why I think that I get so worked up, or not worked up, but so interested in this is what I see as the drastic solution that's being proffered to this.
Right. So it's drastic. If there's a drum of dioxin spilling dioxin, it's drastic to stop the dioxin from spilling into the lake. I mean, you said the premises are valid, many of them, or whatever you said. So, I mean, if you're stuck with the premise, it's dioxin, it's a lake, there's wasted suffering. You can stop extra suffering from happening because you can tip the spilt dioxin back up. And you're saying somehow we shouldn't act. It's drastic to act. Where's the drasticness? What is the drasticness made out of? Because it feels creepy? Is that the best you can do? It feels creepy because all the religious people taught me to think life was good. Isn't that all you're saying to me? I was raised to think of life as fluffy and bunnies and little butterflies and flowers. That's all you got, right? Your conditioning says, pink balloon, pink balloon. We have to chase the pink balloon. That's all you have. And I'm supposed as a logical person say, what to that? I'm just going to say, go sit at the kid table. That's not a fucking rational argument. You got to do a lot better than that. Doesn't feel good. Shit. Alright. Anyway, enough of a video, right? Another monstrously long video. Yay for me! Sorry, I mean, that's the way they're coming out lately. Yeah, big, giant. Yeah, they're coming out really big. Anyway. It happens. Yeah, excuse me. Sorry.